Hi, I'm Jane Muller from GrowCom, the Fruit and Vegetable Grower Industry Association for Queensland. This webinar is part of GrowCom's Whatever the Weather program, which is a natural disaster preparedness initiative for Queensland's horticulture growers. Our program's been funded by the Australian Government through their Department of Industry and Science. In this webinar, we're going to have a look at a framework that growers can use to take a more proactive approach to disaster risk management. Our growers here in Queensland accept that they deal with a very variable climate that features a lot of extreme weather events. And our growers certainly have plenty of experience of dealing with severe weather. The interesting thing though is that often growers are unwilling to proactively plan for natural disasters. As I've been involved with this Whatever the Weather project, I've talked with a lot of growers around Queensland, and the sorts of things that I often hear are things like, well, We've seen some pretty awful things happen around the place, we just hope it never happens to us. I've heard people, and this is a really common one, I'm really just dealing with the day-to-day crises that I'd have to manage without having enough time to deal with a situation that may or may not happen in the future. Another comment that I often hear from growers is, well, I would just deal with that when it happens and then I know what I'm dealing with, which makes a bit of sense. And there's a really common attitude that you hear amongst growers about, well, there's nothing you could really do when it comes to natural disaster issues. GrowCom's Whatever the Weather program is about encouraging a message in industry that actually there is something that we can do. Over recent years, our industry has really learnt a lot from a whole swag of severe natural disaster events that have affected us over the last 10 or so years. One of the key messages that we have is that relying on a reactive approach to natural disasters actually adds to your level of exposure when it comes to the damage that those events can do to your farm and to your business. More and more growers right around Queensland are now seeing that there are proactive measures that they can put in place that can reduce their exposure, both their physical exposure on the farm and financial exposure to the business. Things that they can do that might lessen the impact of a weather event if it comes through. Things that they can do that help them to be ready to respond quickly and immediately if they need to. And things that they can have in place that will help them recover from disaster more easily. The other really important point is that the incentives to take a more proactive approach to natural disaster risk management are definitely growing. We all know that Queensland has a highly variable climate, but recent extreme weather events have caused some quite disastrous impacts in our industry and to individual businesses within the industry. Climate projections indicate that extreme weather events are likely to become more severe and occur more frequently as we go into the future. So horticulture businesses are already very vulnerable to the weather, and they really are facing an increasing exposure to natural disaster risk in the future. What we've done through the Whatever the Weather program is to try to put together a framework, a simple framework that people can use in our industry to try to take a more proactive approach to extreme weather and disaster risk management. The framework is a simple four-word framework: prevent, prepare, respond and recover. This is a really standard approach that's used in emergency services and various emergency agencies all around the world. And it's an approach that really can fit quite well within the horticulture industry and within horticultural businesses. This framework just offers us a way to think through and to manage the risks that are posed by extreme weather events to your farm business. The prevent step of the process is about thinking through the climate risks that could affect your farm, and then to think through what you could possibly do to eliminate, to reduce, to mitigate or to manage those risks that extreme weather poses to your farm and to your farm business. The prepare step is all about thinking through what kind of plans, what kind of preparations, procedures or arrangements that you can have implemented in your business that would help you manage the risk of a severe weather event, that would enable you to be ready to respond immediately, quickly and efficiently if you had a weather event coming your way that was looking like it was going to affect your district, and to be well organised and to be in a good position to actually deal with all of the jobs that come with recovering from a natural disaster event or a severe weather event if it has affected you. The respond step is all about what do you need to do to be ready to contain or minimise the impacts of a severe weather event, what you can do to avoid as much damage as possible to your crops, to your farm, to your business, and to be able to ensure the safety of yourself, your family, your staff, livestock or pets. The recover step is about knowing what the recovery process entails and what you can have in place in advance to help that recovery process to happen more easily and efficiently. And it also helps you make sure that you're looking after your own health during that recovery time. So we can see that this PPRR, Prevent, Prepare, Respond, Recover process can be quite useful in a farm business, and you can apply it to your entire farm business. A lot of people, I think, would probably find it easier to break those 4 steps down to the different components of your business. So to sort of think through those Prevent, Prepare, Respond, Recover type steps for the property itself, for the pack shed, for the farm office, and even right through your supply chain. Following this PPRR framework is a really good way to help your business take a proactive approach to disaster risk management. The neat thing about it is that I think it would help to drive sort of an adaptive cycle of management in your business as well. Lessons that have been learned from disaster events that you've experienced, but also disaster events that you've seen other growers experience, can help you adjust and refine the sorts of preparation and prevention type strategies that you might like to implement. But whatever the weather program has made a webinar for each of those steps in the process to unpack them and to look at what are some of the things that go with each of those Prevent, Prepare, Respond, Recover steps. The tips that we've put together in these webinars draw on sound farm business management principles, and also drawing in the lessons that we've learned from other growers and from industry support officers that have been involved with disaster recovery over the last few years. If you want more information, just go to the GrowCon website. There's a whole lot of information sheets, there's grower profiles, there's templates and checklists, all sorts of useful things on the website. So that's a bit of an overview of the Prevent, Prepare, Respond and Recover framework. We hope you found that useful, and I hope you'll tune into some of the other webinars where we'll go into each of those steps in a little bit more detail. And just a note again to say thanks to the Australian Government for supporting this important industry initiative.